This is Lisa Brown, and we're here this evening with RNSC Technologies Life Skills event. And Renault Ross is the master of the plan, where we're here to represent and award our students in the cybersecurity space who we have trained over the last year, who are handpicked by him in this industry. Their banquet ceremony to celebrate them. We have sponsors, we have awards, we have a panel of great speakers to really talk about life skills and what it is to go into this world, not only just working, but skills beyond that financially, and what it is to sustain, to do well, to be successful in this world. So tonight, we want to say thank you, Renault Ross. Thank you and congratulations to our awardees. And we hope everyone has a great evening of food and fun and networking. And thank you so much. Have a great one.
Hey, listen, I'm so excited to be here at this event supporting my dear, dear friend, Mr. Renault Ross. I've only known him for just a short amount of time, but it seems like we're just kindred spirits, and we just connected immediately at another event. So I'm here to support him. You know, anytime a leader, and he truly is a leader, who has the wisdom and the knowledge to be able to give back, to support, to grow future leaders. Look, he's got my support 100%. So again, I'm glad to be able to support him, and I'm looking forward to an incredible event this evening. I really am.
So I would like to say that I am extremely excited and pleased to be here to support Ronaldo. He's done amazing work in technology and life coaching, and I am really honored to be a friend of his. And I am really proud of the work that he has done to make this a better place. And thank you, and enjoy.
Hey, I came out today to support my friend Renault with his company, which he's doing an amazing job with the community and his fellow co-workers and his students in technology, at cybersecurity, and I know that I'm going to get my daughter involved. She's military right now, so that's how we connected, and I'm here to support him in this event. So I'm going to enjoy myself. You guys need to come out. Bye.
One thing I'll say to you is Mr. Ross is an incredible gentleman. If you've ever met him, he is really about spreading the love and sharing his knowledge, helping other people. I had the opportunity to meet him through networking and through another business that I was a part of, and I can tell you, he is a number one. It's truly a gentleman that you want to be involved with. I'm so happy to be here at his event tonight, his networking event, and I will say, for those of you who don't know this gentleman, get to know him. He will change your life.
RNSC, this is the event of the year. For those who don't know about it, you are missing out. This is a great event of professionals, successful professionals that are here, that are mingling, that are supporting one another, and that are encouraging, growth and success with one another. I highly recommend this event. I know this is the first event, but please, you need to make it out for the second event. Renault's a great man, great guy, doing great things in the cybersecurity space. Thank you.
Here tonight, celebrating the great work of Renault. Listen, he's doing some amazing things now, and I can only imagine what it's going to look like when he levels up with it next year. So listen, I'm here with some friends, and we're going to have a super fantastic time. And again, congratulations to Renault. The best is yet to come.
First of all, it has taken so long to get to this point, and this was an idea years ago, and the idea was to leverage technology to make an impact into society. And so it's happening today. I didn't attract people. I didn't call them. I attracted them because I had a vision that was so huge. And now folks are coming in from all around the country. We got someone coming in from Israel. Yeah, they were on vacation, but they're coming back to make this event. And so if you think about the essence of RNSC Technologies and Life Skills, it's all about technology to help folks get their foot on a ladder, but it will be the financial literacy and life skills to take them up the ladder. So they all go hand in hand. So there is no one area, it's three areas that work together to enforce the whole. I'm just so excited to be here, the founder of RNSC Technologies and Life Skills, but it's not just me. And I've been on many stages in my life. And a stage is for performance, but I tell you what, platforms, that's for influence. And so this is all about influence this evening. Folks are coming in and getting them connected with other like-minded individuals. Because it's not about the shoes you wear in life, it's the steps you take. And I tell you, I'd rather go slow in the wrong direction versus going fast and slow in the right direction versus going slow in the wrong direction. So again, thank you all for coming out, being a part of this. I'm very, very honored. Thank you.
Well, you know, I gave y'all an hour and a half just to have a great time and eat and fellowship. It's time to get to the meat of the message. We need some money. That's why we brought y'all here today. I'm just kidding with y'all. First of all, you know, I thought about what I would say, right? I've been on a lot of stages over the years, but a stage is for performance. But a platform is for influence. And I told myself I wouldn't start crying the first 2 minutes. At least let me talk about what the agenda is today, all right? So let me kind of get through that. I got Mom in the house right now. Mom said, you know, I brought that bed out. So you better be on your best behavior. So this evening is so much packed in it. And I really appreciate you all just being a part of it. So you got a chance to network. You got a chance to fellowship. We'll talk through what the program is for some of you all that may not be familiar with it. And then we have the meat of the discussion: technology, financial literacy, life skills. This is what I love to say is that, you know, you can make money in technology. That's one thing. But with financial literacy, it's all about how do you keep that money. And if you think about it, in life skills, how do you grow that money? This is life skill stuff, right? Meeting people. So many people came up to me and they said, you know, at first, I didn't know what to expect. I said, you know what? Start with a smile and end with thank you. Right? So many opportunities are just in being present. And so before I say anything else, there's a few people I want to thank. They're eating right now, so I'm not going to ask them to stand up. Because if it were up to me, I'm telling you, because I'm putting the numbers together, I'm like, man, it's expensive. Why can't they just bring their own plates? You know, bring their own chairs? And, you know, Lisa was like, wait 1 second. We got to make sure this stuff matches. And so, Lisa, I want to say thank you. So RNSC Technology is a non-for-profit, but we have our sister company, which is a for-profit, which is RNSC Technology. So thank you, Lisa. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, I won't put you on the spot. All right. The next part was sponsorship, right? It costs a lot to do this. I mean, and I was like, again, bring your own plates, bring your own table, you know, because I had already took out a few $1,000s. And then Megan Emmerich, she said, you know, wait 1 second. Maybe you ought to have sponsorship just to take care of like these little small parts. This is your first one. So Megan, thank you so much, okay? Thank you so much, all right? And all the host of folks, Mr. Lloyd, videographer. I want to get that correct. I'm from Texas, you know, not a video guy. But he kept saying, hey, record that testimonial, do it again, you know, step back, be comfortable. Thank you. So it's so many people that made this possible. So first of all, I want to get it out the way. Now, let's talk about if my clicker would work. Don't you hate that as a speaker? You get on stage and your clicker doesn't work, and when you went through rehearsal and it still doesn't work, bam, it works now, right? I wish I could dim the lights too. John can't be here today, but what I want to do is I want to walk through his story. And walking through his story, what I'll do is I'll share a little bit about the program. John was a truck driver. You can read his, well, I don't know if I put it up there, but he was a truck driver. And he was somewhat in technology, but he really didn't understand what that pathway was. John came into the program, and we taught John something referred to as governance, risk, and compliance. Now, for a lot of you all, you're probably saying, what is governance, risk, and compliance? Let me just make it easy. If you stay in a house, you have the homeowners association, right? They tell you can't paint your house blue or pink, green. And so that's what it is for organizations in terms of making sure that there's structure in place and governance and privacy. When you click that free app, that app isn't free because they're using your information, they're sharing your information for financial purposes. But he learned this, and throughout the program, he's been able to secure a position with the Intercontinental Hotel Group as a project manager, governance, risk, and compliance for the company. How about that? From a truck driver to now working in the field, tripled his income, right? So that's just one example. One example. So when you talk through the tentacles of the program, technology is one, right? And again, that financial literacy. I'm telling you all, it's taken 3 months to put this together, but this is 20 years of my life of giving up Sundays at 3 p.m., 3:30, talking about 401k, talking about a Roth, talking about trust, right? I trust my money in Chase, but would Chase trust how my money is doing in 30 years or 300 years, right? I mean, I think that's relevant for all of us, right? And so we're going to have Shannon. She's going to talk a little bit more about trust, but learning that, and then the last but not least, the life skills aspect, and being able to not only present, but to be authentic in the conversation that you have with others. So again, that is the program, right? And you know, I have my notes here. I'm looking at my notes. I'm like, should I go through all? That's the program at the end of the day. The undertone of this program is brotherhood and love. And I can tell you, everyone in this program we've built personal relationships, right? So, and then there are folks that didn't go through the program that I have been blessed to have in my life, right? Destiny. I don't mean to call you out because that fork is going to your head. I'm sorry, your mouth, brother. Sorry, fork going to your head. That's not right? But just amazing and being able to share with this young lady. And actually, I took her, you went on a trip with me to California to a event when I was working at Symantec, but just giving her exposure to corporate life. Isn't that something? And I was like, send me a picture of what you're going to have on. She had a red hair. I was like, well, maybe let's not do the red hair at this particular event, right? Well, maybe some CEOs there, right? That kind of stuff. And that's what it means, right? So we're all a part of this journey. And so I'm so delighted and honored to have you all, again, be a part of this. And we're going to share a lot of stuff tonight. So, again, so when you look at a little bit about the program, just kind of the output. Now, I memorized these numbers, right? But it's really not about the number because your credit score, 3 agencies determine the output of it. But your life score? Come on now. See, you got 3 agencies determining the output of one, but that life score, that's one agency. And so you look at, since the inception, since we started tracking, 62 folks, right, signed up, interested in the program. But then if you look at the people that have registered and completed the program, 73%, but those folks are in these companies. And some of the folks are here tonight from Better Cloud, which is a cloud security hosting company. And Joseph, I know you're probably saying, make sure you get it right. Ain't that something, right? To the International Hotel Group I mentioned earlier, Hilton. So that's what it means at the end of the day, right? And so you can look at the percentages, but I think what's important here is corporate and then workforce. This is all workforce stuff. And let me just tell you all, we did this with literally out of pocket. So no donation, right? I'll say it again. You don't understand. You run out of Sundays someday, right? But getting folks to lean in. We had folks from corporations to say, hey, Renaud, I don't have the time, vice president, CEO, but I love your mission because it's so strong. And if I can become one with that and I can give my time and I can volunteer and share my journey, or give someone an opportunity to start their career, I'm willing to do that. And we have folks in this room that have done that, which they will be recognized later today. So that's just an example. So again, it's a lot of meat on that bone right there. Well, before I got to this slide, I was trying to make sure, I told all my jokes and everything else, and my moderator finished the salmon. And so what we want to do is we really want to take the essence and the mission of the program down to a deeper level and talk through those three tentacles, right? Those three tentacles being technology, being financial literacy, being life skills, with folks that can go deeper in those areas and really make it a discussion, right? Why not, right? And then after that, what we'll do is we'll then get into the formal presentation and award. So the person I'm getting ready to call to the stage, and you know what? I've stayed up to 2 a.m. for the last 3 months looking at these slides. I'm just going to tell you from the bottom of my heart. This person that's coming to the stage has a heart that is amazing, believes in impact, doing something similar with RNSC on a different front, but the end goal is to make an impact and make a difference in humanity. He was a client, a customer, and we went from our conversation from who really shot Tupac to business strategy, right? And so when you can have that type of conversation, wait, who shot Tupac? Wait, no, you don't know. Biggie, I don't know. Oh, it's all good. It doesn't really matter, right? Yeah, me against the world, right? So, but I do want to bring Herman to the stage as our moderator this evening that will bring his distinguished guest up. So Herman, without further ado, come to the stage. Theme music.
See, Renault about to get me up here and get in trouble because my mother is also here as well tonight. Can you hear me? Can you hear me okay? Do I need to stand right here in front of the mic? Oh, wow. So thank you very much, Renault, for introducing me, for allowing me to be a part of this evening. This is really special, I know, for you. It's just as equally as special for me. As I was mingling earlier, I was talking with folks and going back and talking about how when you left Semantic and you came to San Francisco and you called me up and you was like, yo, brother, I'm in town. Can you break away? Will wifey let you out tonight? So we can grab dinner. And we had about a 4-hour dinner for those who I didn't get to speak to. And like he said, we talked about who shot Pac to who shot Biggie to Jesus. I mean, we had a very long and in-depth conversation, and I knew this was something that he was working on. And I told him that when it came to fruition, to let me know that I would be here for him. And so I'm honored, I'm humbled, and I'm grateful to be here. I'm also a little nervous because, like I said, my mother is here too, and this is the first time she's actually seen me speak or do anything that's semi-work related. I'm the Chief Information Officer for the San Francisco District Attorney's Office. I've been in this role for 6 years now. I've been in technology for nearly 30 years. But if you ask my mom, I just work for Microsoft. I'm a desktop support, person. So all her friends be calling me up, and when I come to town, she's like, oh yeah, this is my son. He do computer work. And they be like, well, really? I got a problem with my computer. Can you help me out? And I'm like, I really don't do that, Mom. That's not what I do anymore. I mean, but I did do that at one point in time. I worked my way up from the bottom to the top. In the military, working on Honeywell, Anyuk 65, mainframe systems, card readers, paper tape, to PlexView for anyone who's familiar with, who goes back that far. PlexView is pre-Cisco networking equipment, right? To Linux, Unix, GroupWise or Novell, I got my Microsoft MCSE, to middle management, to to where I am today. So like I said, I've done it and touched it all at some point in time in my career. But to Mom, I'm always, her baby, and I'm always the desktop support person she calls for computer support. So some things just never change. But without further ado, I'd like to bring up my distinguished guest. We'll start off with Shannon, who is an attorney with, God, look, I'm all discombobulated right now. So for the other piece is that I've had maybe about 3 hours of sleep over the last 3 days because I actually just flew in from San Francisco, but I was in Las Vegas the day before that, which I was there for a conference. So I wasn't there partying, so it wasn't like, I was gambling and hanging out, whatnot. But nonetheless, if I could ask Shannon to please come to the stage. Yes, please, let's give her a big round of applause. Choose a seat. Choose a seat. Yeah, that's the one. All right. Well, Shannon, if you want to go ahead and just introduce yourself really quickly and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Shannon Wilson, and I'm the founding attorney of Legacy Legal, where it is my pleasure to serve the community by doing custom estate planning. I create generational wealth one family at a time. I met Renaud it's been a couple years ago now, and much like Herman was saying, we talked about everything
giving me
that there was to talk about. And in my line of work, we get deep in the weeds on families and communities and agendas and legacy building and what it is you have in mind for what you want your legacy to look like. And so when Renaud and I started talking, we immediately hit it off, and I said, this is something that everyone should talk about from the time children are too young to understand what is being talked about, right? So, like I said, I help individuals create their estate plans. That involves trusts, that involves powers of attorney, it involves medical directives, it involves a will, and everything that goes into it. I also do a little bit of probate work, which is the other end of it, which I do not enjoy. I'll tell you, I'll have to just be transparent. I would much rather help somebody plan their legacy ahead of time than be working with the family after the fact when they neglected to do so. I love to say, when you neglect to plan, you plan to neglect.
All right, well,
That's me, Shannon Wilson, Legacy Legal.
All right, well, thank you, Shannon. And so up next, I'd like to bring Russell Wright, the co-founder and CEO of the Wright Coaching Group. Let's give him a round of applause.
So do I need to do a dance too?
Oh, if you need the DA to cue the music. Yeah. But we can do the kid and play together. Yeah, we both be paying for it at the end of the night, but.
Good evening, everyone. Good. My name is Russell Wright, and I'm the co-founder of the Wright Coaching Group. My background, I used to be a lead analyst for Georgia Pacific. And as I progressed, I figured out that I didn't want to do IT anymore. But instead, I wanted to invest in people. I'm actually completing my doctorate as a clinical psychologist. And so one of the things that I always like to do is to get people to see what I do. So if everybody could just stand up for a moment.
You about to hypnotize them.
Face to front. I know, it's going to be quick. Okay.
No, please.
Put your
time. Do your thing.
Feet shoulder width apart. Bring your right arm up to shoulder length and point with your index finger. Okay. At this point, make sure you do not, if you have any back issues or neck issues, please be careful. I want you to turn clockwise without moving your legs as far as you can go without any discomfort. Once you get to that point, I want you to spot it on the wherever it is. It may be somebody, so turn clockwise. So for everybody, yeah, that's right, clockwise. As far as you can go without any discomfort. You got that point? Okay, turn back around, face me, close your eyes, put your hands down, close your eyes. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Eyes closed. Again, raise your right arm up, point your index finger, and turn clockwise. You are a rubber band. You're very, very flexible. You're very, very flexible. Open your eyes. How far did you go beyond that point? You moved, didn't you? Okay. That's what I'm saying. What we do is help you get beyond that barrier to take you from where you are now and move you forward. That's all I got to say. I can't drop the mic.
All right. Thank you, Russell. We should have went counterclockwise as well. We could have stretched out the other way. You're like, all right. And last but not least, I'd like to bring up Arden Peterkin, who is an Information Security Officer for Gwinnett County.
Just for you.
That's for you. And Arden, please, introduce yourself to the group.
Well, good evening. My name is Arden Peterkin, and I'm the Information Security Officer for Gwinnett County Public Schools. We're the 11th largest school district in the United States. I've been with Gwinnett County for... That's right, the 11th largest school district in the nation. I've been with Gwinnett County Public Schools for 17 years. I'd like to tell everyone that I went there in 2005 on a 2-week assignment, and I've been there ever since. I was promoted to Information Security Officer in 2017, and I had the pleasure of serving J. Alvin Wilbanks, our previous superintendent, for 26 years, and I currently serve with our new superintendent, Dr. Calvin Watts. I am the husband of Tarshika Peterkin, and I have 4 sons. 2 of them are here tonight. So John Peterkin, who's at home watching his younger brother. There's a 19-year difference between the 2 of them. He could practically be his dad. Then I have Christian Peterkin, my soon-to-be 21-year-old, who's gone through the program this summer at RNSC. And then Jordan Peterkin, my soon-to-be 19-year-old, who's also gone through the program at RNSC. So thank you for this opportunity, Renaud, and looking forward to participating this evening.
All right, well, thank you. So before we get into it, yeah, absolutely.
You made me look bad. My wife is the other. My wife is right there. I want to give her her props.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Go ahead, get your shout outs. Get your shout outs. Man, this is a group, isn't it? I love our people. Speaking of our people, we're going to get into the discussion, and we're going to talk about technology, finance, or financial literacy, and life coaching and life skills. But I want to start off by just thinking about technology itself and how technology has evolved over the last 20 to 30 years. I remember when the first cell phone came out. You remember the big brick, right? And you had the carrying bag, and you thought, oh man, I'm the deal, right? With that, and then it went to something like this. And now it's actually getting bigger again, right? It's growing in size as more media is being shown on those devices. Even dating has changed. It used to be that, you walk down the street, you see, a nice looking guy or a beautiful woman, and you say hello and, ask for the digits, and now it goes from swiping left or swiping right. I don't know, I've been married for 30 years, so I don't know anything about it. I just know what I've been told and what I hear. So, that's not from experience, yeah. Yeah, so don't get me in trouble, And then, it was, you took the young lady out to the movies, and you held hands and, you carried her books in school, and now it's Netflix and chill, right? Things have really changed, And so you think that technology and the life skills and the financial literacy, don't really intertwine, but really they do. Because they all have some level of technology that is now embedded into people's sociology, their mindset, and what they think about, what they do. I have a 9-year-old, 12-year-old, and 21-year-old, right? So I'm always learning technology from them. Even as a CIO, I'm still learning from them because they all from the latest TikTok video or Snapchat and so forth and so on. And then we start talking about the technology. Then there's cryptocurrency. Right? And there's a whole nother level of financial, I don't want to say independence, but dependency, on trying to get to that next level in life. So to kind of give us an icebreaker, I just want to ask, because this is something that I do when I have new employees start with my organization, is I ask a question. And we go around the room and we answer the question. It has nothing to do with work. It's usually something like, if you could be a superhero, what superhero would you be and why? Right? But it's just to kind of loosen people up and get them kind of, to open up and share. So for my icebreaker question, I want to ask, what is your spirit animal and why? And since you have the mic, Arden, we'll start off with you.
So, driving here, it was an hour and 5-minute drive. I had some time to think about my spirit animal, and then the thought came to my mind and said, if my pastor could hear me talk about a spirit animal, what would he say? Really for me, and this is my serious answer, I gave it a lot of thought, and I felt that less of the animal, more of the spirit. My life has been God's orchestration. So for me, the spirit animal, the spirit is really the Holy Spirit that's been leading and guiding me through my 53 years on the planet. So not to mess up this segment.
No, that's good. But the Lord is a beast. Right. God is good.
Right. So my connection to spirit and being led and guidance and where I've arrived at, because I believe that my destination was predestinated. It comes from the Lord and from the Holy Spirit. So with that, I'm going to hand the mic.
All right.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I am a gentleman. I'm a gentleman. My wife is white.
I don't want to follow that.
Right. Look, Arden is setting a very high bar.
He set a very high bar. Can I just say it? Ditto? I will say ditto. And then on the earthly realm, spirit animal for me would be a turtle. Okay. And more specifically, like a deep sea turtle. Have y'all seen Nemo? Right? Crush? Crush was very wise. Crush was very patient. Crush was very steady and calm in everything that was going on in that. And that's me.
All right. Okay, Crush.
As far as the spirit, ditto. My spirit animal would be an eagle. And for me, it's always been a sense of having freedom. Freedom to do what it is that I love to do, freedom to do what it is that I want to, the freedom to enjoy my family, for example. The eagle represents freedom, but the eagle also represents vision. So not only seeing where I am now, but also where I want to go, to know where I want to go, and even see those things. I think an eagle can see vision like a fish or whatever, like almost a mile or so. That's what I want. Eagles are courageous. When they get in the death grip, they both swirl down. until one breaks. Other than that, they'll just go all the way there. So my spirit animal is an eagle.
The eagle, okay.
Did I say that right, sweetie?
All right. So kind of getting into the meats of it. At some point in time throughout our lives, we've dealt with adversity, we've gone through things, may have had dreams of being an astronaut and have changed to being different things in life. So my question for you, and this is for each one of you, and maybe, Art, maybe you pass the mic back down to Shannon. We'll let Shannon start because you're setting the bar so high, right? You know, we don't... Right, but what was that light bulb moment for you? At what point in your life, your career, did you decide that, hey, I don't want to do what I thought I originally wanted to do, and this is what I want to do and why I wanted to do it?
So that's two different scenarios. In life, it was way before I realized what I do currently. So I'll tell a story about what I do currently and why. I was working in series of jobs. I was an attorney, but I really was not happy. And I looked around me and thought, something has got to give. Something has to give, and I still wanted to be able to give back. I was a federal employee, and I worked with people on labor and employment originally. And I thought, why do people work if they're not doing so to leave a better life for their families, for those that they are working for all day, every day? So I kid you not, I got on Craigslist to sell a table.
A table.
Does that sound weird? I got on Craigslist to sell a table. I open it up and I see down the side, jobs. So I clicked on it. I was like, Craigslist has jobs? What? So I clicked on it, and the first one that came up said, estate planning, business law, may work remotely. And so I submitted my resume. I just knew it had gone into the dark hole of the cyber world, right? And I went to bed. And by the way, that table, I still have it. I never sold it. Right? And so I got a call the next morning saying, hey, we want to interview you. And I also have a business law background, so I thought, okay, so I did a quick search, saw that it was somebody that I may want to work for and with. In the interview, I did everything wrong. Knowing what you can and cannot talk about in an interview, I talked about all of it. I talked about my faith. I talked about my family. I talked about myself personally. Like, I talked about everything that you're not supposed to talk about in an interview. And I hung up and I thought I blew it. And she called me back and said, I'm glad you talked about your faith, because what we do, we go into churches and we go into communities, and we need somebody that is unapologetic about that. We talked about family. We need somebody who is empathetic and who has strong family values. So I thought, oh, I guess I didn't blow it. And then once I got into it, I realized I love this. I do what I love. I say it all the time. Renaud has heard me say it. I do what I love, and I love what I do. So at that point, I realized this is what I want to do. This is my passion. And if you can't do what you enjoy day in and day out, it's not worth it. And so that's when I realized that this is what I want to do.
So for me, I guess life chose a career for me in a sense. I have no qualms. Renaud and I spoke in the gym. So growing up, I was one of those people that, one of the individuals that, low income, I had to get water from the faucet outside. I've lived in my car. When I was in the 9th grade, I couldn't read or tell time. When somebody tells you you're never going to be anything or you're never going to amount to anything, they kind of push you a little bit. And I have no qualms about telling people that about my story. I was sent away to live with my mom, and my mom was trying to enroll me in high school. And they gave us a test to get into the school, and I couldn't read it. And so there was a guy at the end of the table, and he looked at me and he said, man, you can't read that? So growing up, being real, growing up in the hood, it's like, okay, let me go and take care of this. And he said, no, let me show you. And that was the moment that everything switched, because nobody ever took the time to show me anything. And so when I was in high school, our graduating class was 350. When I graduated, I was ranked 50th out of the 350. When I got here, I always told my son, education. It's like, you got to go to college, you got to get a master's, you got to do this. He said, why, Dad? You don't have one. And so how can I tell him to get something that I don't have? I'm supposed to be that example. So I went back, I got my associates, I got my undergrad, I got my master's, and now I'm completing my doctorates. So doing all that helped me to decide that I want to help people. If I can do it, then I can say and show them they can do it. There's nothing standing in your way other than what you believe up here. And so that's what it takes. Life skills, showing somebody that, hey, even though my family's not with me and everybody's saying that I can't do it, what do you believe? Because you can tell your daughters they're the beautifulest person in the world, but if they don't believe it themselves, it doesn't matter. They have to believe it. And so that's what changed my mind when that young man, Robert Dustin, never forget him, he said, let me show you, and he took the time to show me, and that's why I'm where I am now.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Sure.
So I'm going to prove to you that this gray hair is actually come from my age, right? So my introduction to computers was in 1987, my senior year in high school, 1987. They brought in an IBM x86 computer, right? Now, for all of the young people out there who have hard drives and USB keys, and we didn't have that. We had a, what was it, 5.5, 5.25 floppy. And you would put that floppy in, and they would, and it would take about 5 minutes for the operating system to actually load, right?
And it only held, what, like 10 megs of?
Yeah, it wasn't even 10. It was like a 10 meg hard drive and maybe a few kilobytes of RAM. Right.
There you go.
So that was my first introduction to computers, and I became enamored with them at that point, right? It was to me, it was outstanding. It was compelling. It was intriguing that all of the work that would take, several human beings to complete over time could be done within minutes by this x86 or 286 and eventually 386 computer. So then after high school, I proceeded to open my own company. I had a PC company, and I was working with a manufacturer, and I was delivering PCs throughout the tri-state area. I grew up in New York. And, quite frankly, we were making a lot of money on it. And then, well, the part I didn't like was offering, the technical support aspect of it, like you were saying, right? You then become, once you deliver that computer, you become that person's technical support agent, right? So we eventually decided to not proceed in that business any longer, but once again, that was really the light bulb moment for me that then ended up taking opportunity at Sesame Street. So I was hired at Sesame Street as the director of network operations, and worked there for 7 years, and then left Sesame Street, went to Bear Stearns for a moment, left Bear Stearns, and then eventually the family and I moved to Gwinnett County, Georgia. And then I remember when I arrived in Gwinnett County, I have these conversations with the Lord all the time. Not to say that I'm so spiritual and that the Lord actually listens to me, but I just talked to him. And I said, Lord, I would like to work at Gwinnett County. They had technology that I used in New York State. And And eventually I got a call from the then CIO of Gwinnett County Public Schools and said, I'd like you to join my team. So for me, it actually started in high school by that first introduction. And then over time, God just gave me opportunities. And for all the young people in the room, when you get that opportunity, you don't just walk through the door, you kick it open, you take it off the hinges, right? So therefore you can go through it, but then also you leave it open for others to come in right behind you.
So true. So I'm going to tell you, I'm going to deviate really quickly. I'm going to tell you my light bulb moment because it's very different, but yet similar. So I was active duty military, and I was actually going to school while I was in the military, but I was actually going to school to be an architect. But my job in the military was data processor, computers. And I had Professor Green. And it was coming up on the end of the semester, and I was getting ready to get out of the military in a few months. And he was like, so you're going to get out of the military? What are you going to do? And I said, well, I'm going to get me an apprentice job as an architect. And he's like, and what do you do in the military? I was like, computers. And he's like, why the hell do you want to be an architect? And I was like, excuse me, that's something I've always wanted to do. And he was like, look at me, I'm 65 years old. I'm teaching architecture, and yeah, I have my business on the side. He's like, but you've been in my Architecture 101 class. Let's think about, because we're going to get to the financial literacy part of this, right? How much money are you going to make, or you're expecting to make as, an apprentice in architecture? And I was like, I don't know, $8 for, an hour for a small company, maybe $12 for a larger company. And he's like, and how long have you been in the military? And I was like, 7 years. And he's like, and what have you done for those 7 years? I said, computer. And he's like, and they sent you to school? I said, yeah, I've had some schooling. And he's like, so you have some schooling, you have on-the-job training in computers. And how much do you expect to make per hour getting out of the military with your background? And I was like, I don't know, $25 to $35 an hour, starting off. And he was like, and so you want to be an architect for what? And that was my light bulb moment, right? That was my light bulb moment. And so with that, Shannon, I want to go back to you and ask, and thinking about setting up trust and financial literacy, what are some of the things that you recommend to people doing that are just starting off, that whether they're young or even older, but they haven't really taken the time to think about their future and the future of their offspring?
Yeah, great question. So a trust is only one tool that people should have in their estate planning portfolio. Right? There are other tools that you should also have. The trust is only one that I highly recommend for 4 categories of people. The first is anyone who has minor children should absolutely have a trust in place, because if something happens to you while those children are minors, you can essentially set them up for success the rest of their lives. The second is anyone who's in a blended family. In today's society, blended families are more traditional than traditional families. And so with that comes a whole other set of yours, mine, ours, theirs, complexity. And so anyone who has a blended family should also have a trust in place. Anyone who has an interest in leaving a legacy. If you think about your life like a puzzle, you have an idea in your head of what you want your legacy to look like. What do you want that outside picture of the puzzle to look like? You can't put that puzzle together without the pieces that go in it. And so those pieces are what we put into a trust. The second category of people who should always have a trust is anyone who owns real property. Especially if you are here in Georgia, because heir property is what is the transformation. When a person passes away and their name is on that deed, that property becomes heir property. And that's what opens up families to losing property that's been, Big Mama's house, that's been in the family for 5 generations, and now big name company has come and bought it. That's how they do it, because people have neglected to plan, right? Remember earlier I said when you neglect to plan, you plan to neglect? That's what happens. So anyone who owns real property should also have a trust. The third category of people who should always have a trust is anyone who are business owners. Even if you have that LLC, and you know, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, everybody was rushing out, oh, they say I need an LLC. Well, yeah, you probably should have one, but even if it's not making money, the LLC, the business, whether it's an LLC, a S-Corp, incorporated, whatever it is, should also be in the trust because, remember I said, what are you working for if you're not doing so to set your family up and your loved ones up for success? What happens when you have that LLC in place and you pass away? What were you working for? If you weren't doing it to set families up for success, how do they do that? You put it in the trust, and then the trust dictates what happens with the company after you pass away. And the fourth category of people that I recommend a trust for, and this is kind of a catch-all, but it doesn't always catch all, just like, you know, one size doesn't really fit all. It is anyone who has more than 3 pennies to their name stuck in the cup holder of the 1974 Pinto. Right? Why do I say that? Because if you have cash, if you have assets, if you have monetary assets, if you have stuff, right? And we all have different layers and levels of stuff in our lives, let's face it, right? Some people have the watch collection, some people have the sneaker collection, some people have grandma's china, some people have great-grandma's Bible. All of that is your stuff, right? So if you've been holding on to it, why not pass it to the next generation? So everyone that fits in those categories needs a trust. However, you should never have a trust in place by itself. You should also have the other components that I mentioned with estate planning, because just putting it in a trust by itself defeats the purpose of planning. Because when you pass away, for instance, the state's not going to be looking for that trust. The trust is a private document. Nobody sees it, right? Unless you choose to share it with them, and then make sure it's somebody that you trust, right? And so having everything that you own within a trust does nothing unless you also have a will in place. Now, the will can say, I leave everything in my trust so you don't die without a will and leave your estate open and susceptible to creditors. I call them creditor-predators. And that is the nosy neighbors that you knew were nosy all along, and now that you're dead, they're even more nosy. That is the cousins that knocked on the door maybe once a decade, and now that you're dead, they're banging saying, I want my whatever it is. It is Visa, MasterCard, and American Express, right? They have people employed by them. It's their job to cross-reference the obituaries with people who owe them. And unfortunately, they become predators at that point, and it sometimes looks like something like this. I'm so sorry to hear about your cousin Sally passing away. Sally listed you as her next of kin, and Sally owed us $5,000, and now you owe us $5,000. All right, what are you going to do? Run or, right? Run or panic and be trying to scrounge up that $5,000 because you didn't know you don't owe that money to them, right? So that's why I call them creditor-predators, because they prey on people's lack of knowledge and lack of information, and they prey on people in their grief situations. So a trust, it's not just for the rich and famous. Okay? It is for everyday, ordinary people who have an interest in planning for the next generation and the next generation and the next generation. Right? And it doesn't even have to be multi-generational like that. I think one of the favorite plans that I did just happened to be 4 generations. It was great-great auntie who was bedridden, but she was there and able to talk and knew exactly what she wanted to do, and then her niece, and then 4-year-old was running around, right? What that 4-year-old did not know was he was set up for life, right? They took 2 houses, 3 vehicles, 401ks, thrift savings plans, cash, like everything was set up for him. while he was wreaking havoc all in the house, right? But they were setting him up for success. So the only way we can do that is to be strategic in it. I don't play chess, but I do know it's a game of strategy. Just like what I do all day, every day, what brings me joy is watching people plan for success for the next generation and the next generation and the next generation.
So hold on to the mic for a second, because I have a follow-up question for you. For any of those people, I don't want you all in my business. I don't want you to know what I have. What do you say to people like that, right? Because we're always skeptical, right? I don't trust nobody, and I surely don't trust nobody with my money and knowing my private financial situations.
So you have to be vulnerable at some point. But I don't even know everything that you have, right? I might know that you have a bank account at Bank of America, but I don't care how much is in it. As a matter of fact, I don't want to know, right? And so I get the information enough to put it in the document itself, enough to create the document. Do you have to tell me everything that you have? You don't have to disclose all of it. However, if you I'm going to say it again. If you neglect to plan,
you plan to neglect.
You plan to neglect.
All right.
Right? So if you leave a stone unturned, that's the one stone that the government is going to say, we want that.
Right.
Right? And that cousin that you were going to leave the firearms to is not going to get those firearms now. Or that niece that you wanted to leave the balance in your 401k to is not going to get it now. So choosing not to disclose pertinent information can hurt in the end. Where you think you're protecting it, then you're only making it worse.
All right, thank you. So Russell, the question I have for you is about life coaching and life skills. What exactly does that mean? How do you help people? How do you motivate people?
Well, actually, can we hear? Yeah, this is weird holding the microphone. I'm so used to not talking with the microphone. So what we do is we look at where you are, and coaching is actually built on rapport. Because as you know, the better your relationship, the more individuals trust you and they tell you things. I have to make sure that I have a distinction between life coach and therapist, because they're two totally different things. And as a coach, if an individual came to me, for example, and they say, hey, I want to, build a dream house or something. And my thing is, okay, so what does that look like? Because everybody will have an end goal, but they don't have a process or procedural goals. And so we have to distinguish that. Also, when they look at things, it's like, tell me a little bit about where you are now. Because a lot of people, like we were just talking about emotional intelligence, only 15% of society is truly self-aware. And that's one of the things, and I was, explaining at the table, that I have to be a different person here. I have to be a different person for my mom. I have to be a different person for my brother. I have to be a different person at work. I have to be a different person for my wife. Well, who am I? And so I have to ask that question to myself, who am I? And once I figure out who I am and where I want to go, then we sit down and we process everything point by point. And an example, like the person that wanted a house or whatever, he was a doctor. He ended up having high blood pressure. He was in a hospital for 2 weeks. In the hospital, but you're a medical doctor, so you know better. Yet he's still in the hospital. So we got on the phone and we talked for about maybe a week. Come to find out, cooking helps him to relax. And I said, okay, well, that's easy, just cook. He's like, I don't have the time. We look at everything as right now. This is important. I got to do it right now. Well, you got 10 things that you got to do right now. All 10 of those things are not important at that moment. And so we looked at his schedule, and we actually came up with 2 hours every other day. 2 hours free. that he can go and cook and relax. And so in coaching, we always ask, what are you going to do? Well, I'm going to cook. When are you going to start doing it? Well, I'm going to do it this weekend. How will I know you're going to do it? I'm going to send you a picture. And he sent the picture, and I was like, oh, I got to go over his house for dinner one day. It was looking right good. So, and that's the thing about coaching. That's what I love about coaching. If I'm talking to you and you like to cook, or you like basketball, or you like to go on the beach, or where my pool shot, play pool or whatever, as a coach, I can go and enjoy that activity with you while we're discussing your goals. And that's the one thing that I love. I can be personal with you. And so, you know, looking at everything, I was like, yes, this is the path I want. Once we figure out who you are, and you figure out who you are, then the next steps are easy.
All right. So, yeah, please give it up. Give it up. You can pass it out. I was just thinking, you know, in your explanation and how you have to be these different people. And so I think about that in my life, and I tell people I'm like a chameleon. So I guess a chameleon is my spirit animal, right? Because I have to be a different person in the office than a different person at home, different person on the streets, right? But anyway, we're going to pass it on to Arden. And Arden, can you tell us what is an information security officer, and what does that entail on a day-to-day?
Certainly. So my job is to protect the personal information, specifically for Gwinnett County Public Schools. That's over 600,000 individuals, right? So you consider every person, every student that has ever attended a Gwinnett County Public School. You consider every current employee, former employee, now retiree, their dependents. It is my job to make certain primarily that information, as it's being used within our systems, as it's being shared with third parties, as we share it internally, that it's being done in a secure manner. We also have nearly 300,000 endpoints, so think of 300,000 computers. It's my job also to make certain that those systems are configured in a secure manner, because typically, you know, you see on the news different companies being compromised. They find their way in because there's a vulnerability within a system, right? It's very similar to your home. If you leave your door open by mistake, or if you leave a window open by mistake. In the cyber world, there are individuals who are looking for that little crack or creek or crevice that they can get into and then move throughout your environment. Eventually, what they're looking for, of course, is to monetize your information. So think about it. If I can grab the personal information of kindergartners, that means for the next 20, 30 years, I could take advantage of these individuals, right? Or maybe possibly if I could take advantage of someone who's in retirement, I can then take away your life savings. So for me, it's a joy. I liken it to, I tell my children all the time, it's like being in a James Bond movie. It's just that you're only in the fight scenes, right? Right? There are no martinis. So that's what I do. That's what my role is. And then also my role is to mentor, right? I am not going to be here for the next 50, 60 years, but I have individuals that I've given opportunities to, that I've hired, and it's my job to then mentor them and make certain that they can carry on, and that this profession that I've chosen is a profession that we have intelligent, capable people that are protecting Gwinnett County Public Schools or other organizations they might go to.
All right. Thank you. So I have one last question I want to ask each of you. So if you can answer this in 30 seconds or a minute, and it's really, well, they passed the mic back down to you. Okay. So Shannon, when we talked, you mentioned the 5 Fs and the 5 Ds. Can you just say what those are really quickly?
Sure. So I was relaying that when you do your estate plan, it's not a one and done thing. It's a continuous journey, right? And so people always ask me, well, after I do this, should I update it? Absolutely. And I tell people, anytime the 5 Ds collide with the 5 Fs, that's an excellent time to revisit. Those 5 Ds are divorce, disability, meaning you've become disabled. Disqualification, meaning I was qualified to have insurance under this plan and no longer am. Departure, you've retired. And death. Anytime those 5 Ds collide with the 5 Fs in life, which are faith, family, fitness, fun, and finances, those are excellent times to revisit your plan because life happens, right? We all get busy, we all get in the rat race of life, and we forget, right? But you hear from me annually, and you'll know, oh, so-and-so died, and I had them listed all over all of my paperwork. Do I need to change it? Yes. So again, anytime the Ds, death, divorce, disability, disqualification, and I left one out. Departure, thank you.
Dessert.
Anytime those collide with faith, family, faith, family, fitness, fun, and finances, those are excellent time to revisit.
Russell, what would you like for the audience to take away from your experiences today?
The one thing that I always tell everybody, regardless of what is going on in their life, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at will change. And so that's my nugget. That's it.
That's it? That's a powerful statement. That's a powerful statement. It's so true. As Michael Jackson would say, the man in the mirror, right? We got to make a change. All right. So, and Arden, what advice would you give parents and people about social media, computers, cell phone security?
Well, I want to take everyone through a very quick exercise, right? I want you to think of the 4 things you love that are not your children, your significant other, or your dog, right? Right? And I want you to, those 4 things, that should become your passphrase or your password, right? It is a known vulnerability that if you have a password that is less than 8 characters or less, your password can be compromised within seconds, within milliseconds. So by having a password that's at least 12 characters long, it's going to take nearly 100 years, potentially, to crack that password. So 4 things you love, right? Put a space between each for, I'll give you 4 things I hate. Tom Brady.
Oh, I'm sorry.
New England Patriots, right? Belichick and Foxborough. Those are the 4 things I hate, right? Put a space in between them, add maybe an exclamation, a special character at the end, and that should be your passphrase. And then you can mix it up as you go from site to site. So that passphrase shouldn't be used for banking and social media. Mix it up, maybe put the thing you love it the most that's currently at the end, maybe move it to the front. But privacy also, the last thing is privacy. You want to make certain that you give the apps on your cell phone, on your smart device, the least amount of privileges that it needs. Wow. Because otherwise, those companies are actually hoarding that information, right? Last point, TikTok, right? Recently it was discovered. TikTok is taking your information and sending it to the Republic of China, right? Right? So you want to be careful with that as well. I was watching a YouTube video where someone was saying the TikTok that we see in the United States is not the TikTok that you will see in China, right? They're giving their children positive ideas, and they're encouraging them to be involved socially and mathematics and reading. Here they give us silly stuff because they want to cloud our minds, right? So also reduce the amount of time that your children are using social media because it's intentional, right? It's not just about entertainment. It's also about winning the economic, I'll call it conflict, right? China wants to be number 1. So how do I be number 1? I teach my children how to be the best, and I give your children the silliness.
Yeah, I know I have to limit screen time with my son because he gets crazy, after even on, TikTok or whatever after too long. But please give the panel a big round of applause. And then yeah. So I know we're running short on time, so I'm looking to our host here or do we want to open it up for a few questions, or do we need to move on in the program?
Dessert, okay. Well, you know what, I'll tell you what, if we have a few questions, and I think someone had their hand up in the back. I'm sorry, you just rubbing your hair? Okay. Yeah, dessert is actually being served, so folks are walking around taking orders right now. So, but it sounds like we don't have any questions, but okay. Do you have a question? Okay, well, let's make sure we got a mic for you as well, too. Well, we should have more than one mic here.
There's a mic. That's okay. Here.
Okay.
Hey, you have a mic, right?
Okay.
Why don't you run over there?
What's your question? I echo your question. Shannon.
Do you have to have a separate trust, or can you put all of that in a will? Do you need both documents?
The question was, do you have to have a separate trust, or can you put it all in a will, and do you need both documents? If you have a trust, you also should have a will. Everyone doesn't need a trust, but everyone needs a will. All right, and if you have a trust, you should also have a will, because the will is the document that the state will be looking for when you pass away. You should never pass away without a will in place. Otherwise, what you've done for the trust is going to be invalid. It won't matter.
Wow. Well, great. Okay, you have one question, okay?
Yes, to the trust. So what kind of trust would you recommend? Irrevocable or revocable trust?
The question was, which type of trust would I recommend, a revocable or an irrevocable? And the attorney in me is about to come out loud and strong. And the answer is, it depends. Okay? There is not a catch-all, everyone needs this type, everyone needs this type. It depends on what your assets are. It depends on how you want to house them. It depends on if you own things outright, or you still have a lien on it, or still paying a mortgage, or have a bank connected to it. It all depends on the full picture, right? Remember I talked about that puzzle? It depends on what your picture looks like and what pieces you have in it. So there's unfortunately not a catch-all, everyone needs one type or the other.
Well, put it this way. It took me 6 months to figure out my assets, and it was the first 3 letters that meant the most, right? I know we have kids in here, but yeah, so. Y'all just got done. Okay, there you go.
So the question was, I have people in my life that I want to leave things to, but they are not legally my dependents. You should have the documents in place that say, I want this to go to this person, this to go to this person, this to go to that person. If you do not have those documents in place, the will specifically, if you don't have it in place, then the state looks at a chart and says, were you married? Everything goes to the spouse. Did you have children? Everything goes to the children. And so if you have loved ones in your life that are not blood related to you, and when I say blood related, I mean children, grandchildren. It doesn't go out to my play cousin, right? We all have that family structure, right? It doesn't go out to them. So if you have people that are not related to you and they would not show up on that chart, you absolutely should have those documents in place to say, I want to bless this person.
Will that override being related?
Yes. Yes. If you don't have it in place, they will get nothing if they are not related. They're not going to show up on that chart. But if you do have it in place, then your word is your word. They call it a last will and testament. That is your opportunity to say publicly, this is what I want to happen. So if you have those people in your life that are not related, they're not a spouse, and by the way, this is why divorce goes in the D's. Change your documents. right? They're ex-spouses most of the time for a reason. So make sure you change your documents and so they don't get anything, right?